Oh, hello, and welcome to Shrinky. The today's episode of My Mum Said I Could Watch It. Tonight I'll be discussing Dollman on a very tiny screen. Just see what's happened there. Dollman is another full moon classic. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm on a trial period with a subscription. Nothing, by which I mean everything. It's Tim Thomerson again playing as a cynical, hard-boiled trenchcoat cop, not to be confused with Jack Death, called Brett Bardo. You can't confuse him with Jack Death because he's wearing shades and the coat is a little bit darker. 1991 this film is, so this is, I believe, in the Mum Said I Could Watch It universe. This is Ritz. This is me in Abbeville Road, Ritz. My brother's gone to university. Folks working, I'm 14. Main reason why I've pushed to join Ritz, even though there's a perfectly good family corner shop video VJs that we've been renting from for like ever, is ostensibly because they have a larger range of films. Theoretically, because there'd been an argument because my brother rented a documentary. And that was left with myself, hence ruining the Mum Said I Could Watch It era. And Ritz had a proper sort of some vague sense of like, how old are you? Which I managed to break very early on. I'd pushed for Ritz because they had Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I memorised what year I was born to the point that I stood there in front of the with my copy of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, putting probably on the table to check 1972. Heavy Sigh and Rothman's being smoked as I rented it. But we're here about Dollman. Once I'd broken the ice with that, Dollman was mine. Dollman is dull, man. Sadly, it doesn't work. The main premise being, as you can see behind me, you have the planet Arctura, sci-fi world, Blade Runner world. Brick Bardo is a future cop. Not a future cop, is a space cop. This is space, not time. After all, fighting criminals in space. One of whom he's fought numerous times to the point that the guy is just a floating drone head. There's a little standoff, and then they fly into their respective spaceships, land on Earth, where they continue this battle within an Hispanic ghetto run by drug users of space cop versus space criminal, one of whom is little, the other of whom is a drone. It's unfortunately totally mismatched. You have, on the one hand, as you can see behind me, the spacey wacy hero cop doing hard-boiled street things, but once it takes about half an hour before they get to Earth, and really all that happens is that, despite what you see behind you, most of this, I would say about a good 3/4 of this film is filmed in a quarry. It's a quarry or a disused shelter. That's it. The difference between space quarry and Earth quarry is maybe a little bit of a filter so that the skyline looks a bit burnt orange in space quarry. But it's a quarry. It's you may have seen quarries work on Doctor Who at this point, or indeed Blake 7. The absurdity and the humour and the laughs that you could get out of the Land of the Giants space cop being 13 inches tall just isn't followed up. Tim has decided, although I suspect the script has more to do with it, that he has been able to double down on making this different from Jack Death by making Bardo just totally dark. Jack Death had lost his wife, Brick Bardo's lost his entire family. There is absolutely no humour in him, except really at the very, very end. You do have a selling point of Ross Archer's in it, Jackie L. Haley guy. Again, that wouldn't have meant anything to me at 14. The main thing I was doing at this point was eating the pizza that I'd rented with this, as it's Friday night, and it's one of those ones where the folks worked. So my Friday night treat would be, and let's be honest, quite gluttonous really looking back on it. The Pizza Hut from the end of Abbeville Road, pizza, garlic bread, and a Coke, and then whatever I could get out of Ritz. That night being this. It's got this problem as well, that it's interlinked. You've While the space cop is trying to find a space criminal, and they're all very small, rather than getting any sort of the absurdity or the comedy out of it, they're dropped into an almost hallmark Nancy Reagan Hispanic ghetto stroke New York area of the Bronx that's so dilapidated. It's today's segment of, is it progressive or is the bar that low? You frankly have probably one of the greatest proportion of Latino and Hispanic actors within a film of the time in this, but what are they doing? Guns and dealers and single mums. So a few attempts at jokes are just cliche stereotypes. The extended community coming in to stare at Brick Barlow's ship. One great twist is that Space Criminal is killed by the local hoodlum, played by Rorschach. That adds something, because you think that you're going to have this big payoff of Nemesis or Nemesi, but to watch the Moriarty of the piece just get pummeled with a fist and replaced by a hooked up junkie is really quite a bold move. That it is a twist in and of itself. Also, the problem with it is that while you've got this Nancy Reagan teenage suicide, drugs, don't do it, going on, there's a lot of gruesome deaths. The handgun that Bardo has creates some real brutal woundings. This is not done in the sort of the lightness, that there's not enough knowingness. It's done almost too earnestly. So you've got these moves of like young kids thinking that the spaceship's a toy, to watching someone's hand get blown off. The mismatch, coupled with the timing on this, half an hour to get to Earth. You could establish the guy's powers. He's got a thing in his hand, so the gun will come straight back to him. And then you go to a set piece after set piece after set piece. I genuinely think that a Star Wars troll scroll would have been better than that. Tim does his best with the material. I genuinely feel that. Carmela Lopez is doing the best with that character, but again, there's massive expositions on why she doesn't have a husband and what the influence of gangs can be. Not enough is spread too thin. The scale is too broad for what could have been a very small kitchen sink almost comedy of manners. And as such, this is the first film I've had to say, don't, just don't. Dollman. The only addendum I'll add to this is that it does set up Brick Bardo for a rather more humorous and humane turn in Dollman versus Demonic Toys, also starring Melissa Bear as Ginger the Nurse from Bad Channels I reviewed earlier. Demonic Toys I'll do soon, and then of course we'll complete the quadrilogy of that cinematic universe, because I think it's important to reflect all of Melissa Bear's oeuvre. So that's this one's episode. As I say, in succession, if you want a hallmark story of community tragedy interspaced with minor violence on a galactic scale, but crammed like a pineapple on a pizza into an utterly unsatisfying whole, then sure, do it. But seriously, at least just skip the future part. You'll be saving yourself time. Till next time.